Okay, this one's a little different. Because this time, the guy who wrote the book on love completely blew up his own. His name is Søren Kierkegaard, Copenhagen, 1840s. And he did something almost nobody can explain. He met the love of his life, a girl named Regine. He chased her, he won her, he got down on one knee and she said yes. He had the exact thing you're watching this video hoping to find. And then he called it off, on purpose, gave the ring back. And to make sure she'd get over him, he pretended to be a heartless jerk so she'd hate him and move on. Then, and this is the part that breaks your brain, he spent the entire rest of his life writing about love. Book after book, all secretly about her. He watched her from across the city for years. He never married, he never loved anyone else. And when he died, he left everything he owned to her. So here's the question this whole episode is really asking. How does the man who understood love more deeply than almost anyone who ever lived, how does that guy fail at it so completely? Because the answer is the most useful thing he left us. Kierkegaard figured out the exact machinery of how we love and how we dodge it. He just couldn't run the machine on himself. So here's what you're going to walk away knowing, why you keep your options open, and why that's not freedom, it's a trap, why the spark was always going to fade and what's supposed to replace it. Why real love is a leap you can't think your way into, the true story of the engagement he destroyed, and what it cost him, and what he'd tell you to actually do about the person on your mind right now. 5 parts. Let's get into it. Kierkegaard said there are basically different ways to live a life, and most people, when it comes to love, are stuck in the first one. He called it the aesthetic life. Don't let the word scare you. Here's all it means. The aesthetic person lives for the interesting, the new, the exciting. Whatever gives the biggest feeling right now. Their number one enemy isn't pain, it's boredom. And Kierkegaard nailed the modern dating world 180 years early. He wrote a whole section basically on how to avoid boredom, keep rotating. New person, new city, new thrill before any of it gets old. Never let anything settle long enough to become ordinary. Sound like anybody's phone? The aesthetic lover is the one who's amazing for the first 3 weeks. Intense, all in, says all the right things. And then the second it gets real, the second the mystery wears off and it becomes a regular Tuesday, they're gone, on to the next spark. And here's Kierkegaard's brutal insight. That person thinks they're free. Look at all my options. Nobody tying me down. But they're not free. They're trapped. Because a person who refuses to ever choose has handed their whole life over to their moods. They're a slave to whatever feels exciting today. He called the alternative the ethical life. And the ethical life turns on one word: choice. Actually picking. Actually committing to a person and a life, and closing the other doors. His most famous book is literally called Either Or, because that's the moment everybody tries to avoid, the moment you have to pick one and let the others go. The aesthete's whole strategy is to never arrive at that moment. Keep it and keep everyone on the roster. But Kierkegaard says, a life where you never choose isn't a rich life full of possibility, it's an empty one. Because you never actually did anything, you just kept the tabs open. Okay, but the aesthete has a point, right? The feeling does fade. That's not a myth. You meet someone, it's electric, and 6 months later you're arguing about the dishwasher. So isn't chasing the spark kind of honest? Kierkegaard has an answer for this, and it's maybe his most beautiful idea. To understand it, you need 2 words he set against each other: recollection and repetition. Recollection is living backwards. It's when the best part of the relationship is the memory of the best part of the relationship. The aesthete is addicted to recollection. They're always chasing that first 3 weeks high, and the second it's gone, they go find a new person to get it from. They're not really in love with anyone. They're in love with the opening scene. On repeat with new actors. And you can spend your entire life like that, always reaching backward for the feeling you had at the start. Always disappointed that it faded. Always blaming the person for not keeping the fireworks going. You know this person. Maybe if you're honest, you've been this person. The one who, the moment a relationship gets comfortable, suddenly feels like something's wrong. Like the magic died and that must mean something. So they pick a fight, or they pull away, or they start scrolling, hunting for the hit again, and they swear they just haven't met the right one yet. But Kierkegaard would look at that and say, "You've met plenty of right ones. You keep leaving at the exact moment love was about to actually begin, because you confuse the feeling of love with love itself, and the feeling by design was never built to last." Then there's the other word, repetition, and this is the one that can genuinely change how you love. Repetition is living forwards. It's not getting the old feeling back. It's choosing the same person, the same life, again and again. On an ordinary day when there is no spark, when they're annoying you, when it would be easier to reach for your phone, and choosing them anyway. And Kierkegaard makes this wild claim that the second kind of love, the boring, chosen, ordinary Tuesday kind, is actually deeper than the fireworks ever were. The fireworks just happened to you. You were a passenger. But choosing someone again when the feeling isn't carrying you, that takes a self. That's an act. That's a person actually loving instead of just being lit up. Here's the everyday version. Anybody can love their partner on the vacation, in the great outfit, on the good day. That's recollection material. You'll tell that story later. Repetition is loving them on the flat gray Wednesday when nothing is happening and you choose to make them coffee anyway. Recollection is the highlight reel. Repetition is the actual marriage. The aesthete quits right at the door of repetition, right when the spark dies and the real thing could finally start. They think the death of the feeling is the end of love. Kierkegaard says it's the beginning of it. It's where love stops being weather and starts being a decision. So if love is a choice, why is it so terrifying to actually make it? Why do so many people stand right at the edge of commitment and freeze? Kierkegaard has a word for that feeling too: anxiety. And his definition of it is one of the sharpest things in all of philosophy. He said anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Picture standing on the edge of a cliff. Part of what scares you isn't just falling, it's the terrifying realization that you could jump, that nothing is stopping you, that it's entirely up to you. That vertigo, that's freedom. And a real choice, a real commitment, gives you the exact same feeling. That's why proposing terrifies people. That's why defining the relationship makes grown adults sweat. It's not that the person is wrong, it's that you're standing at the edge of a real choice, staring at your own freedom, and it makes you dizzy. And here's why that matters so much. When most people feel that dizziness, they completely misread it. They think, if I feel this anxious, this unsure, then this must be wrong. This must not be my person. So they bail, and they feel a rush of relief, and they call that relief clarity. Kierkegaard says you've got it exactly backwards. The anxiety isn't proof the choice is wrong, it's proof the choice is real. That vertigo is just what a genuine life-shaping decision feels like from the inside. The people who feel no anxiety at all, ever, usually they're the ones who've never truly committed to anything because they never got close enough to the edge to feel it. And here's the thing Kierkegaard understood that the aesthete never will. You cannot think your way across that gap. You can make a list. Pros and cons. Are they the one? Is this the best I can do? Is there someone better out there? You can research it forever, like it's a product. And Kierkegaard says, you will never get certainty that way. Never, because love isn't a calculation. There's no amount of evidence that adds up to a guarantee. At some point, the thinking has to stop and something else has to happen. He called it the leap. You commit before you're certain because certainty is never coming. You take the leap without a net. He even split people into two types. There's the person who wants love but keeps one foot on solid ground forever, always resigned, always safe, always protecting themselves. And then there's the rare one who actually jumps, who commits fully to a person with no proof it'll work out and somehow lives like it's going to be okay. Kierkegaard was in absolute awe of that second person because that leap, betting your whole self on someone with zero guarantee, That to him is the bravest thing a human being can do, which brings us to the cruelest twist in this entire story. Because the man who explained the leap more beautifully than anyone could not take it himself. Copenhagen, 1837. Kierkegaard is 24 and he meets a girl named Regine Olsen. She's 14. He waits, he circles, he falls completely, hopelessly in love. 3 years later, September 1840, he proposes, and Regine says yes. By every account, she loves him just as much. This is it. The philosopher of choice has made his choice. He's standing right at the edge of his own leap. And then, almost immediately, something in him caves. He's got this deep melancholy he can never shake. He calls it his thorn. A dark, heavy sadness he inherited from his father, along with a whole load of religious guilt. He becomes convinced he can't do it, that he'd ruin her, that his real marriage is to his work, to this mountain of writing he feels called to produce, that he's too broken, too heavy, too strange to give a normal woman a normal, happy life. Every reason is a fear wearing a costume. This is the dizziness of freedom happening to the man who named it. He's on the cliff edge he described so perfectly, and the vertigo wins. So he does something almost unforgivable. He decides to break it off. But he can't stand the idea of Regine blaming herself, wearing the shame of a broken engagement. So he plays a part. He acts cold, cruel. He deliberately makes her believe he's a deceiver, a scoundrel, a man who was never serious, so that she'll hate him and heal and go build a life with someone better. She fights for him. She begs him not to do it. He holds the mask in place until she lets go. He gives the ring back. He runs to the theater that same night so people will see him looking carefree, so the gossip will land on him and spare her. And then he spends the rest of his life writing about her. Almost every major book, the whole thing about the seducer, recollection and repetition, the leap, the night of faith, it's all him working out the engagement he destroyed over and over on the page. He mapped every possible way to love in obsessive detail because he was autopsying the one he couldn't go through with. Regine eventually moved on. She married someone else, a steady, decent man. And Kierkegaard, who watched for her on the streets of that small city for years, took it like a knife. Even though he was the one who left, he never married, never loved anyone else. He wrote until he collapsed, died at 42, and left everything he owned to Regine, the woman he'd walked away from 20 years before. He understood the leap better than any human being alive. He stood at the edge of his, one foot in the air, and stayed there forever. So what do you actually take from a guy who got it so right and lived it so wrong? Honestly, that's exactly why he's worth listening to. He's not a guru who won at love and is bragging. He's the smartest person in the room showing you the exact trap he fell into so you don't have to. So here's what he'd tell you. 1. Notice when you're keeping your options open and calling it freedom. The open tabs, the let's just see where it goes for the 5th month in a row, the roster. That's not freedom, that's fear of the leap. Choosing is not a loss of options. Choosing is the only thing that makes a life yours. 2. Stop waiting for the spark to come back. When the fireworks fade, that is not the end of the love. It's the door to the real one. The ordinary Tuesday, choosing them again when nothing is carrying you, that's not the consolation prize. That's the actual thing. 3. You will never be certain, ever. There's no amount of thinking that turns a person into a guarantee. At some point, you close your eyes and leap, or you spend your life on the cliff edge, safe and alone like he did. And 4, this is the one that might actually matter tonight. There's probably a specific name in your head right now, someone you keep half choosing, keeping on low, keeping your options open on, while you tell yourself you're just not sure yet. Kierkegaard's entire ruined life is one long letter to you, begging, don't do what I did, don't stand at the edge so long that the choice gets made for you. Because there's a line he wrote near the end that reads like a message he mailed to himself and got back too late. To cheat yourself out of love, he said, is the most terrible deception of all. It's a loss you can never get back. He would know. So the ledger gets its next entry in that restless, searching hand. Kierkegaard. Love is a leap you must choose, and choose again every ordinary day. Read the column so far. Plato. Love is a ladder. Schopenhauer. Love is nature using you. De Beauvoir. Two freedoms, never a merger. From. Love is an art, you're untrained. And now Kierkegaard. It's a leap, and you have to jump. They're circling the same fire from different sides. And tonight's question is the simple, terrifying one he never answered for himself. What are you keeping your options open on that you already know you should choose? There's someone new in the corner tonight, big mustache, wild eyes. Been listening to all this talk about leaping and choosing with a strange little smile because he thinks Kierkegaard got close and then flinched, not off the cliff but away from the real answer. This man loved exactly once too, got rejected, and instead of writing gentle books about it, he threw his arms around a horse in the street and lost his mind. He's going to tell you the goal was never to choose your fate. It was to love it, every brutal part of it. He calls it amor fati, Friedrich Nietzsche. He's next. Same question, always. What is love?